This is Rao Talk. In this episode, I talk to Davis Lee about his recent wrist injury. He tells me about his rehab and the impact of the injury on his work. We talk about physical mindfulness, building confidence through accomplishments, and doing difficult things. David Blaine and his feats are a recurring topic. For example, is it possible to hold in a poop for 44 days? To end the episode, we talk about fasting, the thousands of gaming hours Davis has accumulated in the last decade, sleep paralysis, and how hard it is to do nothing. All right, so yeah, how you been?
So far, so good, man. My latest rehab for my hands has involved using a rice bucket to do some exercises and go through the ranges of motions that should help strengthen my hands and wrists. Initially, what I think I mentioned before was just a injury in my left wrist and hands, or it has now developed on my right side too. So that does suck, but I mean, it seems like I'm able to exercise with a bit more load without hitting a pain threshold than before. So pros and cons to that.
Yeah, I was doing a workout today, and I noticed I have really stiff wrist and forearms. So yeah, I was just I guess on all fours, just trying to stretch it out, and then I tried instead of like this on all fours, I did that. So that really works this part. So yeah, it's crazy. You never think to work out your forearms or wrists.
Yeah, it's even when you're lifting weights, it's not an immediate thought or priority. One of the cool things I saw before was a tool at the climbing gym that essentially massaged your forearms. So, are you familiar with those rolling sticks that you apply to your legs and stuff after running to just help massage them out? Okay, so imagine you have two of those sticks together, but they're curved so that they form like an oval. And then the idea is that they're so close together that only a small object can fit through them. And the idea is that you run your forearms right through the two rolling pins, and that's supposed to help foam roll or massage your forearms, which really works out pretty well if you're especially tight there, and you get pretty tight in your forearms after climbing.
Wow. Yeah, that's cool. I've never had a forearm massage, but how does it feel? Have you tried it?
I tried it before. Yeah, it feels pretty nice.
Okay, so it must apply a lot of pressure then, because I have to really push to feel something on my wrist.
Yeah, so the way it works is actually it's like a clamp like this that's open, and then I would go on the top of the clamp and squeeze it together, so it would pinch like this. So it's as tight as you're willing to grip, essentially, because by default the device is open like this.
Yeah. Okay. Wow, that's pretty cool. Yeah, now even I'm focusing on my forearms and wrists and my palms, because when I do some of the yoga postures on the floor where I'm using my hands to stay balanced, it's really tough. So I gotta work those balancing parts of your arm, because you need that to balance.
Absolutely. So it's a great application of your stabilizing muscles in your forearms for sure, especially if you want to do crow poses or whatever, arm balances.
Yeah. So how did you get the same problems on your right hand too. Is it from climbing still?
No, I mean, I like I got the I got the injury through a combination of paddling, typing, and gaming.
Mm.
I only first noticed the injury on my left hand side when I was gaming. No, sorry, when I was paddling, and so I saw physio. I eased up on the paddling, but didn't really help too much.
Mhm.
So I'm trying to do some more rehab stuff. Like this is the literal rice bucket that
Oh,
I have right here
and is
that I'm
that
using too.
so? What do you do?
So as an example, I would I would insert my hand into the rice to provide some resistance as I keep my arm and hand straight as I enter in.
Yeah.
I would do some rotations, just rotate my wrist.
Oh, okay,
I
I
would
got it.
flex side to side. I would change the orientation, and then some other exercises that incorporate more complex ranges of motions.
Wow, I think that looks pretty. First of all, it looks cool, and second of all, it seems pretty practical because you, I mean, your hand is surrounded by. I guess it would be an even, resistance.
Yeah, as opposed to say like just doing these motions in the air. So I could just do this all in the air and that's fine, right?
Yeah, yeah,
But there's no resistance besides gravity, which is not super helpful at this point because I'm not starting from like a debilitating injury. I'm just trying to build up the tolerance again and try and identify how I can avoid that in the future.
mm,
As much as I can right now. I will have to schedule probably some more physio appointments later on because I don't think just I don't know if rest and doing some rehab stuff like this is going to bring me back to 100%.
right. And 100% means you want to get back to climbing.
Well, I mean, 100% in that I don't want to be hindered by such an injury when I'm doing other things,
Oh, okay.
whether
Yeah,
that's paddling, climbing, or otherwise.
right, right. Yeah, those are, annoying injuries where, it's not severe, but it's just like you just can't do regular stuff, especially if it's on your hand. Or yeah.
Yeah, man. Like like I can't. I now have issues where I can't like type longer than like 2 hours straight or something like that until I need like a definitive break. Whereas like I used to be able to go like the whole day just typing at my computer if I wanted to. But um, yeah, I mean it's all right in that regards. I just take more breaks, which is okay. But I don't know. Maybe it's old age too.
You could try typing inside the rice.
That'd be something interesting as well. I
Because
talked to some friends.
yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Oh, no, I was saying like I was talking to some friends too about like some people who code more regularly as well, and they mentioned that they also have some weird hand issues and trying to invest in more ergonomic setups and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's I'm just trying to think of situations before keyboards and typewriters where someone would have to use typing motions, and I can't think of anything. So yeah, this must be
Yeah.
a new problem generally, like in the last 100 years or so, or whenever typewriters came into play.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, so yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, I mean, maybe maybe in like 100 years it'll just be all like Musk's like neural link, and we'll just be communicating over his Starlink satellites.
Have you tried speech to text?
In the past, yeah, I mean, like I have tried some tools for that. Yeah, like Dragon Speak was probably one of the earliest iterations of that. Like maybe 10 years ago. But there's tons of software and out of the box tools that you can use for that.
Yeah, that might help your if you're typing something that's
It doesn't help for coding though.
oh, true.
That's my issue.
Right. Yeah, I'm just thinking of a workaround, but I can't think of anything.
Oh, thanks, man. I mean, it's manageable so far. Like I'm increasing the workout volumes as of late as well, and that hasn't been too noticeable in terms of pain.
Mm. Right. Okay. Well, are you putting any kind of like oils on there to keep things less inflamed?
I mean, it's not it's not really inflamed as far as I can tell. I have been applying some kind of like menthol based oil to stimulate blood flow in the area, but yeah, nothing too fancy. Like if I had the device, I would probably use like electrotherapy,
Mm.
and that way use electrical pulses to stimulate the muscles, and then that's almost like uh, using this electrotherapy. It's almost like I'm flexing in the area because the muscle is stimulated by the electrical activity, but it's not. It doesn't actually require me like actually physically gripping my hand to stimulate the blood flow. It just requires the battery in the device,
Right.
which my physio had used before using acupuncture too. So essentially, he stuck the needles into my wrist and forearm, and he just like plugged he used the alligator clips to attach them, and then just used that for the therapy.
Mm. Yeah, um, I use a coconut oil base, and I put a few drops of eucalyptus oil, and that seems to do the trick, generally speaking.
Yeah, yeah. I remember you mentioning the eucalyptus oil was pretty key before.
Yeah, it's not a game changer, but I find it helps. Like for kind of it relaxes you, and physically you feel relaxed in the area. So, but when I do that, I usually put it on right before I soak in a hot bath.
Hmm. That makes sense.
Yeah. So yeah. So have you? Um, is taking like an extended break an option?
I've been thinking about that too. I guess the longest break we could probably do in the near future would be this weekend because I have Friday off as well. But maybe if the severity increases, I'll take a longer time off. So we'll see.
Mm. Yeah, I remember. Um, well, I mean, generally speaking, there was a time I would push myself in, working out or running or whatever, and it just got to a point where I it was just like too much. So I ended up taking a break, like a year or two, just chilling out, just doing kind of yoga postures, nothing too intense or straining. I don't know if that like how great that was in terms of
recovery.
recovery, but I don't know what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is sometimes an extended break I find is useful just to get your body out of that cycle of just having to keep using it intensely. If that makes sense. Of course, the drawback is you're going to lose your strength or uh, flexibility or whatever it is that you were working on. Yeah.
Yeah, that the biggest cons is just like you said. Like there's a concern about losing losing the strength, losing the you know load capacity at all ranges of motion. So we'll have to see. Like at this point, it's not debilitating.
Mhm.
It's just an inconvenience that has evolved. That's all.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, man. Good luck. Um, I mean, I, what can I say? It takes time, and you go through ups and downs.
Yeah. I mean, like I'm still able to do stuff, so I'm not too concerned.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, I bought a 6 pound medicine ball, and I got a balancing board too. So
Yeah,
I really like the balancing board because I just stand on it sometimes. You know, it feels like you're doing something because you're trying not to fall. That's the fun part.
yeah. I remember. I remember you mentioning on our call. I guess 2 weeks ago now. That you found it especially useful for like activating your calves.
Oh, that's right. Okay, I already told you about it then. Okay.
I
Yeah,
mean, it's
yeah,
yeah.
it's pretty good for the calves. Nowadays, I don't know what it really activates, but what I try to do is I try to exercise my toes, if that makes sense, because I'm trying
Mhm.
to put the weight on the balls of the feet and trying to push
Okay.
enough so that it kind of pushes the toes forward. Because my toes, like some of the toes, are more stiff than others. So if you balance on it the right way, I can feel the stiff toe.
Okay. And and where does having like a stiff toe detract from your normal functions? Is it like detrimental in your yoga? Is it detrimental in your running?
I don't really notice it right now. I mean, the stiff toe became stiff because I stubbed it. I hit a wall when I was
Oh,
just walking.
oh
But
yes.
I mean, generally speaking, you know, you never exercise the toes, so when you get a chance, you should. At least that's the way I look at it.
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective. I mean, I guess you could just like pick up like socks and stuff with your feet and then move them around as well. Pretty light loads.
Yeah, yeah, that's cool. I'm not trying to get like jack toes,
Yeah,
but what I'm trying to do is incorporate some form of awareness in my workouts, so that you kind of practice what it feels like to feel different parts of your body, so that you have a better sense of when things are going to go wrong or when things might not be a good idea. So, for example, I bought a skateboard and I want to get back into skateboarding. So, I still haven't learned how to do an ollie, so I'm working on that. But to do that, you got to squat down, um, kick the board off the ground, and then straighten the board and land on it on both feet. So you get a lot of foot action. So I don't know. I feel like it'll come in play there. I haven't noticed it as of yet, but the toes help you balance out. So I'm sure it'll have an impact when you're trying to balance on a board.
I see. Yeah. Yeah, that seems like a plausible extension of this awareness. And in general, that's probably a good idea too, because at least you kind of set like a baseline of like what you know feels like normal feeling, and then what is like bad and what's like good. But then again, like the I'm just gonna step to get some water.
Yeah.
But the human body can also be like deceptive too. Like when you're pumping a lot of adrenaline,
Yeah.
that's that chemical in your body will like prevent you from feeling pain. It's what allows you to keep on going, right? So your body can tell you that you're doing fine, but really you could be like pretty injured, like you could have torn a muscle, which is interesting too. And it goes vice versa as well. Like sometimes your body will tell you that you're feeling like a little bit of pain, but then it can be just like a misalignment of muscle fibers, but really like there's no significant injuries and you're okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's the thing. So the way I look at it, when I'm exercising, I'm not high adrenaline most of the time. It'll come up in competitions. Probably when I run a race, the beginning of a race is always like, I don't know, you end up going faster than you practice. That just happens to me. So
For sure.
Adrenaline's probably a huge factor there. But you can kind of simulate it if you are going on a test run, maybe a pacing run or something. But it's the adrenaline's not the key factor most of the time in terms of just working out. So when it's not a factor, I think it's a good idea to kind of feel out your body, where the tension is. With the yoga postures, it helps me figure out what motions are easy and what motions are not easy. And if you just keep practicing those motions and postures, the repetition will build a sense into your body, so that when you're not thinking about it and you're just moving your body as you need it to, I don't know how aware you'll be, but so let's say you are aware, then you'll have a sense of what's the best way to move your body. And if you're not aware, you've already put in the work to practice your range of motion. So if you're not aware, you're going to be less likely to get injured because you've already lubricated the joints and the motions and everything.
Yeah, I mean, totally understand. Makes sense to have that understanding, to know that feeling, to establish that like level of comfort or discomfort.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I just think it's cool. You gotta. I don't. I've been alive for 28 years, but I don't know the limits of my own body. So you got to start somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, you're you're continually improving that too, right? With all your running, with all your accessory work.
Yeah,
it goes a long way, man.
Yeah, it's so cool how I've run two 10Ks, one in July and one in August. Each one's been tough. So the first one in July took me an hour and a half. The August one took me an hour and 20 minutes. But the best thing about those two runs was that you hit a wall. So I hit a wall around 7K or 7.5, and at that point it's just keep going. I wouldn't say it's a wall, but I don't know what the wall is, generally speaking, but my body gets really stiff. So I'm just shuffling forward. So for example, if my pace was 7 minutes for the first 7K, then the last three end up being 10K or 10 minutes per kilometer.
Mm.
So
I see.
but the cool thing is, once you get it done, that you remember that memory where it was tough, you got it done, and then you just feel confident doing other things, which have no relation, but doesn't have to make sense. You just feel like you can do stuff. So it's cool to have that in your pocket.
Yeah, absolutely. It's it's these senses of accomplishment that empower you to do better, to try harder next time as well.
Yeah, yeah. You got to keep doing difficult things so that everyday things that you need to do, they're not so bad. You've already done something difficult. You can do simple, boring stuff anytime.
Yeah, that's you're starting to sound like Goggins here, actually, with all the exercises like building mental fortitude, just like wanting to kick ass and better yourself.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I've listened to some of his two of his interviews on the Joe Rogan podcast, and I listen to other people who are, they use
Pretty.
tricks to get them to keep going, and it may not be, call it what you want, a trick or a strategy, but yeah, I mean, if it works, that's great, and I'm using it. So yeah, so for example, whatever, if I'm running a 10K, first goal is to finish the 10K, and then I'll just keep going another 100, 200 meters so that I remember the next time. I can do more than 10K, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. David Blaine, he's doing a live stream tomorrow.
Oh shoot. That'll be pretty cool. David Blaine was also recently featured on Joe Rogan too.
Yeah, he was promoting his new stunt.
What's his new stunt?
So, have you seen the movie Up?
I have. Yeah.
If I remember correctly, the house gets pulled away into the air with a bunch of balloons that are pulling it up, right? That's the stunt, except he's the house.
Sounds like a good submission for the Darwin Awards.
Yeah, so he's gonna hold a bunch of balloons. He's gonna fly up into the sky without. Well, he's gonna have the
Is he gonna have a parachute?
I think so, but he's not gonna wear it initially because he wants to get a picture of him holding the balloons from somebody on the ground. So he's gonna have the parachute in the balloon somewhere, and once he's up in the air, he's gonna pull it down and put it on, and then he's gonna fly way high.
Mm-hmm.
Then at some point he's gonna pop the balloons, and then free fall with the parachute on, and then hopefully land alive.
That's pretty nuts. I mean, I guess he's done some pretty crazy things in the past before. Like his was it? He held his breath for 20 plus minutes underwater.
It's crazy.
That one stuff. That and then he what was it? He slowed his heartbeat down to like such a tiny pace too.
8 beats per minute.
Yeah, that's insane, man.
Yeah, the dude said they pulled him out at 8 beats per minute, and he was saying, "Why'd you guys do that? I was feeling great." And I think his explanation was the people who pulled him out said, you were
basically dead."
Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, that getting down to 8 beats per minute is a sign of cardiac arrest. I don't know if that's a fact, but that's the vibe I got from his explanation.
Yeah. That's nuts, man. So David Blaine is doing that stunt tomorrow, eh?
Yeah, it was supposed to be a few days ago, but he keeps postponing it because they need the wind conditions right. But as of
Hmm.
the last time I checked, it's a live stream on YouTube around 9 a.m. I think 5 minutes before 9 a.m.
Whoa. That'll be interesting. Maybe I'll tune in for that. Oh shoot, nah. I won't be able to watch it, but maybe I'll watch it on the if it ends up going for a while. But yeah, I'll probably catch it on YouTube later or something.
But yeah,
That's so
I'm gonna watch it
ridiculous.
later. This guy is crazy, but he knows he's crazy, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Oh,
Do you think if you had the opportunity, would you ever go skydiving?
I don't really want to.
Is
I
it
mean,
just too gimmicky?
I don't get it. I don't really want to fall to the earth. I
You
mean,
don't you don't want to seek that thrill
no,
of
I'm
spinning through the
good.
air?
I'm good for now. I mean, it's a thrill as long as you don't die.
Yep, definitely.
But I mean, there's one thing when you have to do something and it's tough because you have to do it, but going out of your way to do things that you don't need to do. I mean, I'm not at skydiving level yet. There'll probably be a few steps before that will make skydiving acceptable for me. But that's a big jump from now to skydiving.
Yeah, I mean, in gradual steps too. Like you don't need to run 10Ks to be, uh, a good human being, but you're pushing the limits. You're pushing your comfort zones.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe in like a year or two, you'll be grabbing onto some balloons as well with a parachute.
Well, there's got to be a reason. Like,
Yeah,
I think doing crazy things is cool. If first of all you need a good reason, and second of all you got to be safe. Like this stunt, David Blaine has a bunch of videos on YouTube where he talks about, well, we've tested this, and I think he had to do 400 or 500 free falls before the stunt. So he said he was doing 15 free falls a day, like
that's
skydiving things. Yeah.
yeah,
So obviously he's practiced. So you know you got to put in the work to do crazy stuff. Because if you just do crazy stuff, I mean, it'll be fun.
you'll die.
You might survive, but if you don't prepare, yeah, something bad's gonna happen, and worst case, you'll be dead.
All right, actually, you just have to do 15 free falls a day. Little
so,
steps.
so, so what you're saying? So first, you asked me if I'm willing to skydive, and now you're saying you should do it 15 times a day.
Yeah. See, you got to build up little steps at a time.
You got to do 15 times a day so that you can do it once.
Well, I mean, doing a 10K is a tough thing,
Mhm.
and so it's not that far of an extension to just skydive once, and then once you skydive once, it's not that far of an extension to just say skydive 15 times in a day for multiple days.
That is true. I might as well do 35 in a day.
Hey, there you go. Actually,
Oh man,
that might be a Guinness World Record or something.
who knows? It's crazy. So is there a like a tough challenge you're planning to do, or something that's coming up?
Something coming up for what? Sorry, it kind of got a bit unstable there.
Is there a challenge that you're working toward?
No, it's just build up the foundation again. So that's running, paddling, um, weight training,
Mm.
building up those three areas again.
Okay, that's cool. And so for the weight training, so are all those three things just supporting each other, or is one of those like I want to be this good at paddling?
Right. I mean, they're all pretty equal at this point.
Mhm. So it's just to maintain your lifestyle. You're not like competing for something.
Not at the moment, no.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I think I try to compete with myself too much. I gotta be careful because that's how you get hurt. You're like, I gotta push it, I gotta push it, I gotta push it.
Yeah, I've learned that the hard way quite a few times. So you know, when when you can, when you do feel good, you can push it a little bit, but play by ear. It's
Yeah.
never good. It's not gonna get any easier as we get older as well.
Mm, that's true. Yeah, it's as you get older, you gotta push it, but you gotta push it at the right time. And I think their frequency of being super intense reduces. Is I mean, that's one way you could approach it.
Yeah, because human physiology is going against you.
Hmm.
It's you're going to take more time to recover. You can't sustain as heavy loads for peak, I guess, effort, and you can't sustain peak effort for long either, as you can when you're like younger.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah. I don't know, man. It's super interesting. You know, just the human body, what it can do.
Yeah, it's a very unique machine. That's for sure.
Yeah, the dude David Blaine, he brings frogs up from his stomach and spits them out alive.
Yeah, man, I don't. It's so the dude is has reached a special level of enlightenment and bodily control.
Yeah, you know what's cool is I was watching an interview he did with this music producer Rick Rubin, and he was talking about one of his stunts where I think he was in a Faraday cage for 44 days. Maybe I'm confusing two stunts, but he was basically he didn't eat for I think 44 days. And first of all, the hilarious thing is he said, before doing that, he didn't eat for a while and he tried to empty his bowels and everything, so there was nothing in his system. But he said,
Hmm.
there was a little bit, and okay, this is what's crazy. He said he held it in the whole time.
Wow, what?
Is that
That's
possible? That's crazy.
yeah. I don't know. That seems like highly. That seems like highly unlikely. But I mean, a lot of the stuff he's done has been highly unlikely in the past, right?
Right? It's what the heck.
That's crazy. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, could be.
Yeah. So anyway, he didn't eat for a long time, and so he was describing this sensation where he I think he was saying he couldn't feel the body anymore. Like, I don't know how to describe it, but I've heard that similar kind of description um, that describes how yogis meditate for like months or weeks, where you don't sense the body, like you don't feel the body, you're just kind of there. I don't know what that's like, but you know, it's you can do that apparently, and that's insane.
Yeah, that that does take that does seem like it takes like a certain level of practice, and yeah, I've tried meditating for that goal as well, but I haven't yeah, I haven't reached that level yet either.
Yeah, I've reached points where you get a high from just not eating. I don't know if you ever noticed that.
Yeah, definitely. It Yeah, I'm not sure what the like the physiological mechanisms are like that keep you going when you're like in kind of starvation mode.
Mm, yeah, I have no idea, but
It is an interesting feeling, that's for sure.
yeah, it's so weird to think that you don't have to eat all the time. Like you eat 3 meals a day, but you know you don't have to do that every day. But it's hard to not do that because your body's so used to that. So if you don't practice, then it's just tough sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, especially like you could you could essentially have, I don't know, 3 iced cappuccinos from Timmy's, and that's like more than your calorie intake for a single day. You
What
have
really?
that. Yeah, they're like, I don't know, aren't they like 700 calories each?
Damn, that is a lot.
It's a ton of sugar, man. Ton of sugar and fats.
Mm.
So you have those, say like from 8 until 12 in the morning, and then by like 1 o'clock you'll be like, it feels like you're starving, but
Um,
you've had enough like caloric intake for the entire day, but your body still tells you that you're hungry.
right. It's up to you to act on that or not.
Hmm. Which is why you hear people talking about like the usage of complex carbs in your diet so that you're full for longer.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean my technique is just I just sip on a bit of coffee, kind of uh, puts the hunger away for a bit. Doesn't work all the time, but yeah, it works sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, do you spend a lot of effort trying to stave away the urge of hunger?
Not really, not right now. I mean, when I was working, I don't know. I was working and living away from my family, so naturally I ended up eating less. So um, somehow it just happened because you eat breakfast at like 7 or something, and then you don't have lunch until 12 or 1. So I was usually hungry by 11. So I just have to push it for another hour or two. And sometimes you work late, so you have a late dinner. So in those cases, yeah, that was the time to kind of push the hunger away because eating just sometimes it changes the vibe. Like if you're focused on doing something, like you're in the zone, and then you don't want to get out of the zone, so you don't want to eat. So I wasn't doing that every day. But yeah, I've experimented before with fasting and seeing how long I can go. Um, but what concerns me is eating when you're not hungry. So whenever I do that, I end up having an upset stomach. Not an upset stomach, but like upset bowels, I guess. Eventually, over time, it just gets upset. So I'm trying to figure out the difference between having an like you want to be able to just make a distinction between having an empty stomach, being hungry, and needing some food, and that's tough to do, I find.
Yeah, I mean, bored eating, stress eating, that's a thing.
Mhm. Yeah. Are you a are you a stress eater or a stress starver?
I've done both.
So you can just choose?
I mean, like, I wouldn't say, well, I guess it'd be like I do choose, yeah. I mean, I've done both in the past. That's
Mm,
true.
that's cool. I can only do stress starving because
Stress.
like I feel tension. I think I just feel it in my bowels, so it's like you kind of feel nauseous sometimes.
Yeah, I think maybe one possible like explanation for that is that if you stress eat, then you're diverting blood flow away from the rest of your body, specifically your brain, into your stomach.
Mm,
So whatever you're stressed about is like, I don't know. If you're stressed for work and you're trying to focus, then you're taking some of that focus away because the blood
yeah,
flow is going to your stomach. Um, yeah, I
yeah,
mean, neither scenario is really good as well, right? There's neither one of them is particularly better than the other. They're just both bad things,
mm,
but
okay.
things that you can work on being conscious of, right?
Yeah. That's the whole interesting thing. Like you, you could spend your whole life trying to figure out how your body works, but it changes day to day. How tuned in are you to those changes? I don't think I'm that tuned in. Um, but yeah, it's always something interesting. So I would like to reach a point where I can sit comfortably and meditate for hours just to see what my body's doing.
A little practice goes a long way, right?
Yeah, man. Yeah, right now I'm pretty stiff, so I'm trying to get the strength and the flexibility in there so that the next step can be sitting. Um, yeah. So yeah, we've done almost an hour. Um, just let me know when you have to go.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, like, I'll probably have to get going closer to 9, but I'm still good to chat a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, what else is going on in your life?
I mean, not a whole lot. You know what? What I just looked at recently was my my like past decade from like 2010 until 2020. I've got I installed a different type of like game launcher. Like you're familiar with Steam
Yep.
for PC. So there's another one called GOG. So
Right.
I installed GOG, and the nice thing about GOG is that it kind of compiles and like consolidates all the other like gaming libraries that you have.
Mm.
So I installed GOG, and GOG looked across Steam, it looked across Epic Games, it looked across GOG itself, and then it told me that my total amount of like gaming hours was 3,400,
In 10
and so
years.
essentially because like that's when I started first playing games on PC,
Mm.
and so I added like 2,300 hours I spent on an MMO.
Mm-hmm.
and probably like so that's like close to 6K. And then I'd probably say like console gaming and like some other overhead things like watching trailers, reading guides. Probably pushes it closer to like 7.5K, which is in the ballpark range of like 8 to 9% of all the hours in 10 years. It's like when I think about that, it's crazy because like almost one full year of my past decade has been spent gaming.
Whoa. So let's say it's 10% of 10 years.
Yeah.
How about sleep? Are you a 6 hour or 8 hour guy per night?
I'm averaging like 7.5.
Okay, let's say 8. So that's 33%.
That's 29.2 thousand hours.
So like 50% of your time in the last decade has been either sleeping or gaming, approximately.
Approximately, yeah.
Wow.
It's pretty crazy to think about, isn't it?
Well, if you're at 7.5K, you just need another 2.5, and then you'll meet the 10,000 hour rule, and you'll be an expert in gaming.
I was thinking about that too. Like, damn, that 10,000 hour rule is like rule of thumb is so crazy.
Yeah. Wow. So by now, we should both be experts at sleeping.
Yeah, we're like grand masters of sleeping, actually.
Yeah, bro, but like older people, I mean, they must be like super dupers masters.
Yeah, I mean, we're only gonna get better sleepers as we get older.
Yeah. Isn't it weird? Like you sleep for a quarter or a third of your life and you don't even know what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could remember the exact passage, but that reminds me of a specific passage from like that book I mentioned to you about like Why Do We Sleep by Matthew Walker. I think it was like if someone told you that a person is suffering from a disease where they're like unconscious like a third of their waking hours, they have no recollection of like what goes on, they have no control of their body, and stuff like that. It almost sounds like a debilitating disease.
Yeah.
But you're just describing sleep.
Yeah.
Which is an essential part. Like we would basically die without sleep.
Well, like one time I was asleep and then I could just open my eyes. I couldn't move my body.
But sleep paralysis?
Yeah, I guess that's what it is. That's happened to me once. Has that happened to you?
It's happened to me a few times, but I think it hasn't happened to me since 2018. I think. Yeah. Yeah, I haven't had it since, but it's a pretty scary feeling, eh?
Yeah, I mean, I would like to get back there, but if you can get over the scary feeling, I mean, I wonder what that would be like.
I mean, I don't know if there's any maybe it's yeah, I don't know if there's any real benefit because the reason why it happens is essentially like your body is in REM sleep, so your eyes are doing those rapid eye movements, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you don't have any control of your body. Your body is basically inhibited because if your body was still like able to activate its muscles, then as you're going through REM sleep, like you could be thrashing around, you could hit your hand against the wall, like you could do serious bodily harm without you actually being conscious of it, because you're just in REM sleep, and that's what your brain is essentially doing. Like it's just going crazy dreaming.
Mm-hmm.
However, when you're in sleep paralysis, your body's in REM sleep, but your mind wakes up. And unfortunately, like, your body's paralyzed because REM sleep prevents you from trying to injure yourself, but your mind is awake, so you're just stuck in that until you fall asleep again.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think it's trippy
Yeah, for sure.
because like you don't really know what it's like to be asleep. So if you can get there, then you'll know what it's like to be asleep.
Or you could just learn how to lucid dream as well.
Yeah.
I haven't really reached that extent just yet. Well, I shouldn't say just yet. I I feel like I'm pretty far away from that. But one of the first things to get on that track is, from what I've heard, is just start recording your dreams.
Like write it down.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
like when I was more diligent about that, I would just like wake up, in the middle of the night. I'd pull out my phone and I'd start writing notes about whatever I dream. Some pretty ridiculous stuff, but like you write it down as soon as you can, so that you don't forget it. And after a little bit of time, I was able to do I had some actual agency in my dreams and what happened, but not like full control, not like Inception style or anything like that.
Hmm. Yeah. It's weird. It's like some things are always focal points in the dreams that you remember. Like for example, I just had a dream, and I only I have dreams not every night, but I don't know, a few times a month, and I don't remember most of them, but I remember the one I had last week or whatever, and so in the dream, I think I got my math wrong. That's what I remember. So this is what happened. So I'm in the dream. I'm in some kind of classroom. There may be like 50 students or something. It looks like a classroom that I was in when I lived in India when I was, 6 or 7 years old. I think classes were 50 students. It was that kind of class. So anyway, I'm in that class. I don't really know how old I am. I feel like I'm this age that I am now. Something's going on, and then there's a girl sitting next to me, and I had a crush on this girl in high school, and I'm just looking at her, and then she says, I say something to her, and then she says, I've been waiting 20 years for you to say that. So I was like, okay. It's referring to I've had back in the day, I had a tough time saying something, so I'm sure it's related to that. And so the math part comes in so now it's 2020. So I remember while I was dreaming, I was thinking 20 years. Yeah, that makes sense. The year 2000. And then I woke up and I was like, 20 years. High school was just 10 years ago. But now that I'm explaining it, it might be related to classroom was from 20 years ago, but the girl is from 10 years ago, and somehow it got combined. It is so weird.
Yeah.
Like, I don't
Yeah.
think there's any use trying to find meaning in that, but I just think it's cool that I remember that and not other stuff.
Mhm. Yeah, it's interesting. We're at the pinnacle of human society in the history of civilizations, right?
Mhm.
And the brain is still so much of an enigma. Like we don't even understand. We still don't understand like all the reasoning and like mechanisms behind, like, as an example, why we dream, like how that like helps how that's our brain processing the events of our days, how that's you know a mechanism for our brain to store long-term memory, to move short-term memories into long-term memories, stuff like that. But then we always have these interesting side effects, like these weird half-remembered dreams that have like weird storylines going on.
Yeah. I mean, it's cool. I kind of think of them like little movies. It's just like, I came up with that somehow.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's because I don't remember someone teaching me how to monitor my body. Like people teach you how to treat a wound and take care of injuries, but there was no class where someone said, just sit there. Just don't move for an hour. Yeah. Like, I don't know about you, but I find it's hard to do nothing. Like, I have to work. It's hard. Like, I have to put in work not to do anything. So just sitting while I can do it and I have practice doing that, it's not something that comes naturally, which is crazy because like life is about living, right? But you keep doing stuff so that you forget how to just not do stuff.
Yeah. I mean, when you say not do stuff, are you saying like, kind of just taking, just like kind of zoning out and just like taking a break, kind of de-stressing from the day? Or are you talking about like more so active mindfulness, a la like meditation, or like that kind of doing nothing?
Well, I feel like active mindfulness is something you need when you don't know how to just not do anything, like just sit and not even try to pay attention to anything. Because like you're only going to notice stuff about yourself when you're not focused on stuff outside of you. If you're not thinking about something, if you're not planning your lunch, if you're not surrounded by people, there's nothing to do. If there's nowhere to be, you don't need to be thinking, but you don't need to be thinking, you don't need to be moving. You can just chill, but you can't just chill. I don't know if that answered your question.
Well, yeah, not really. So, so in your definition of like not doing anything, like you still have to think, right? You can't help control your thoughts when you're not doing anything, right? Like
Yes.
if your eyes are closed, even if your eyes are closed, you're still going to think about like you're probably going to think about your heartbeat. You might think about like what you hear. You might think about like the blackness and how that represents the night or something. You can't control how these thoughts are just going to permeate your consciousness. And so, if that is the definition and experience of doing nothing, then it's basically like a lazy form or an open form of meditation, anyways, right?
Yeah. So, some people have told me that, sometimes they get in the zone where, you don't know how much time has passed. And then, you look at your watch, it's been an hour, but it feels like you just started something. I don't really get that much. So I spent a whole day, I spent 8 hours sitting and trying to meditate. And after 8 hours, I got like 8 seconds of that. And that was a pretty good day. So trying to get into that kind of headspace where time just is not really, uh, a focal point, if that makes sense.
What's what makes that such a desirable goal?
It's only a desirable goal because it doesn't happen to me. So I just want to know what it feels like.
I see. Yeah, I mean, you could just take drugs too.
Yeah. I mean, you can do that too. I have gotten that kind of vibe taking an edible once, but that was a freaky experience.
Freaky, how so?
I don't know. It was like someone was forcing me to relax, and then that just made me more stressed out. But
Yeah.
the time dilation thing, yeah, I thought 40 minutes had passed, and I looked at my watch, and it was just 2 minutes. So it's like that, but trying to get there on your own, that's a feat that appears to be unattainable, but it's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, like, I'm not sure if I've discussed this with you, but we talked about meditation before, and I mentioned to you that I've listened to Sam Harris and his guided meditations, and so I've listened to his podcast too, and he's kind of made the analogy of like meditation is like mental training. Like you lift weights, you run, and that's like physical training.
Yep.
And with physical training, you can expedite the gains that you'd see by like injecting steroids into you. And drawing that comparison to like mental training and meditations, like meditation over like years and years will get you to like a place of like true mindfulness and awareness of yourself and how you think and how you react.
Right.
And the consumption of like psychedelics, drugs, kind of expedites that process. It kind of gives you that like steroid boost as well. So I suspect, like you said, it'd be cool to attain that just through natural means of like hard work, through your own like doing nothing, meditation, that kind of stuff. Yeah. But yeah, it's hard. It's very hard.
Yeah, dude, that's what makes it fun. I don't know. Maybe you're right about. I don't know. I think I just naturally, for some reason, try to find something tough to do because that gets me going. It's like, what can't I do? Let me do that.
That's one of the core tenets of the adventurous human spirit, in my opinion. Just trying to seek the adventures.
Yeah, except skydiving. No thanks.
Well, like we talked about, actually, the 10K is not that far away from like skydiving, and then you'll be jumping out of planes like 50 times a day.
Yeah, I mean, you run a 10K, you fall 10,000K. I mean, it's the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
All right. Well, I guess we'll end it on that.
Sounds good, man.